The diplomatic hall fell silent when Marcus Chen stepped onto the polished obsidian floor. Every eye, human, Valtherian, Croxian, and a dozen other species, fixed on him with the weight of a death sentence. The annual Galactic Unity Gala wasn't just ceremony, it was theater. And tonight, Marcus was the joke. He knew what they saw. A stocky human with soft edges where the diplomatic corps preferred sharp ones, sweat already beating at his temples despite the climate control. His formal suit stretched across shoulders built for labor, not elegance. The whispers cascaded through the crowd like poison. The humans sent that. Cultural ignorance at its finest. Watch him stumble. Ambassador Thrace stood rigid near the Terran delegation, jaw tight enough to crack teeth. This wasn't her choice. Earth Council had insisted on cultural representation across all body types for this gala. Progressive politics meeting alien aristocracy. She'd argued for weeks. Lost. Now Marcus represented humanity before the most powerful beings in 7 sectors. The music began. A Valtherian composition, allegedly simple, allegedly welcoming to all species. Marcus closed his eyes and let the rhythm find his bones. The first step shattered expectations. His body moved with precision that defied his appearance. Not the rigid formality other species performed, but something fluid, grounded. Each movement connected to the floor, to the air, to the music itself. His weight became grace, his size became presence. The traditional earth dance, modified for formal settings, transformed the crystalline acoustics of the hall into something breathing and alive. The whispers changed texture. Confusion replaced mockery. Marcus spun, and the motion carried inevitability. His hands traced patterns that older species suddenly recognized: gravitational flows, orbital mechanics, the mathematics of celestial movement embedded in human cultural memory. Dancing wasn't frivolity on Earth. It was physics-made poetry. 30 seconds in, the Croxian delegate stopped laughing. 60 seconds in, the Valtherian contingent leaned forward. At 90 seconds, Queen Ashira of the Valtherian sovereignty stood from her throne. The entire hall froze. Protocol demanded the Queen remain seated during performances. Her standing meant something had shifted in the political landscape. Something none of them understood yet. Marcus finished his sequence, breathing hard but controlled. The silence stretched like a blade. Queen Ashira descended from the raised platform. Her crystalline features revealed nothing, but her 4 primary eyes never left Marcus. The crowd parted. No one spoke. No one dared. She stopped 3 feet from him. Close enough that her corona, the electromagnetic field Valtherians projected unconsciously, brushed against his skin. It felt like standing near high-voltage lines. "You dance the old ways," she said. Her voice resonated through translator implants directly into neural tissue. Not performance. Movement with purpose. Marcus bowed, mind racing through diplomatic training. "Your radiance honors me. On Earth, dance preserves what words forget."
Yes.
Something flickered through her corona. Surprise, perhaps. The 3rd movement. You executed a gravitational acknowledgement. The hall's atmosphere changed. Suddenly, every alien diplomat was calculating, recalculating. Gravitational acknowledgements were ancient Valtherian mourning rituals, lost for 3,000 years. Humans shouldn't know them. Couldn't know them. But Marcus had studied. Not diplomatic briefs. Not policy papers. He'd spent 6 months with Dr. Sarah Okonkwo, Earth's foremost xenoanthropologist, learning what civilizations remembered in their bodies when their minds forgot. "My research suggested," Marcus began. "Your research was incomplete. Queen Ashira's corona pulsed violet. Not anger. Interest. But your instinct was correct. Tell me, human, why did you choose this dance?" The question carried weight beyond words. Marcus felt it in his chest, and the way the air seemed to thicken. This wasn't curiosity. This was a test, and failure meant more than personal embarrassment. "Because," Marcus said carefully, "I was told this gala celebrates unity. But unity without understanding is just theater. I wanted to show that humans can learn, can adapt, can respect what came before us." Queen Ashira extended one crystalline hand. Her 3 fingers spread in a pattern that made Ambassador Thrace gasp audibly. "Dance with me," the Queen said. Impossible. Against every protocol. The Valtherian sovereignty's ruler never touched other species in public. The political implications would cascade through decades of carefully negotiated treaties. Marcus looked at her hand. at the absolute certainty in her 4 eyes, at the moment that would define Earth's relationship with the most powerful military force in known space. He took her hand. The Queen's corona flared brilliant gold, and the music began again. They moved together, and the universe held its breath. Marcus had prepared for mockery, for failure, for quiet humiliation that diplomats would spin into acceptable losses. He hadn't prepared for this. The weight of alien royalty trusting him to follow, to lead, to match movements that spoke in frequencies humans could barely perceive. But Queen Ashira didn't move like other Valtharians. She moved like someone remembering, like someone finding something lost. The dance lasted 4 minutes, an eternity in diplomatic time. When it ended, Queen Ashira didn't release his hand immediately. Her corona settled into deep blue, contemplation in Valtharian color language. "You will attend my daughter tomorrow," she said. "Private audience." The hall exploded into barely contained chaos. Private audiences with Valtharian royalty required months of negotiation, blood oaths, genetic guarantees. The Queen had just bypassed every protocol, and worse, she'd used the word daughter. The crown heir who'd refused every suitor, every alliance, every diplomatic arrangement for 40 years, the untouchable symbol of Valtharian sovereignty. Marcus bowed, somehow keeping his voice steady. "Your Radiance, I'm honored, but I should consult." "Tomorrow?" Queen Ashira repeated. "Dawn cycle. My daughter wishes to understand why a human dances with the weight of stars." She turned and ascended to her throne, leaving Marcus alone in the center of the floor. Ambassador Thrace reached him first, face pale. "What did you do?" Marcus looked at his hands, still tingling from the Queen's corona. "I think," he said slowly, "I just started a war, or prevented one. I'm not sure which." Behind them, a door opened that hadn't existed moments before. A Valtharian honor guard stepped through, their armor reflecting light in patterns that hurt to observe directly. "Marcus Chen of Earth," the lead guard said. "You will come with us, now." Every species representative watched as Marcus followed the guard toward the impossible door. His heart hammered against his ribs, but his feet stayed steady. Whatever came next would determine whether dancing fat could change the fate of worlds. The door closed behind him with the finality of a tomb ceiling. Or a birth canal opening? The corridor beyond defied human architecture. Walls curved in directions that shouldn't exist, lit by bioluminescent patterns that pulsed in rhythm with something deeper than heartbeat. The honor guard moved in perfect silence, their armor making no sound despite masses that should crack the crystal floor. Marcus counted steps to keep panic at bay. 47, 62, 93. The corridor opened into a garden that couldn't possibly fit inside the diplomatic station. Trees with fractal branches reached toward a sky that showed stars and configurations Earth's astronomers had never charted. Water flowed upward in streams of perfect helixes. Princess Lyria stood at the garden's heart. She was smaller than Marcus expected. Most Valtharians towered over humans, but Lyria stood barely 5 feet tall. Her crystalline structure was different too. Less sharp angles, more flowing curves. Her corona shimmered silver white, the color of morning or new beginnings. Translator databases gave conflicting interpretations. "Leave us," she said to the guards. Her voice carried the same neural resonance as her mother's, but tuned differently. Younger, lonelier. I said leave. The corona flashed violet, and this time the guards obeyed. Their departure felt like pressure releasing from a sealed chamber. Lyria turned to face Marcus fully. Her 4 eyes studied him with intensity that made his skin prickle. "You know why she sent you here." It wasn't a question, but Marcus answered anyway. "I genuinely don't." A sound emerged from Lyria's crystalline structure. Laughter, sharp and bitter. "Of course not. Humans never know what they've done until the consequences arrive." She moved closer, corona shifting through colors too fast to interpret. "You dance the grief of distant suns, a ritual my people abandoned 3 millennia ago because it reminded us what we lost." "I didn't mean to offend." "Offend?" Lyria's corona blazed gold. "You reminded my mother that we were not always empire. That once we were explorers who danced to remember the worlds we'd visited, the peoples we'd met, before conquest became our language. This is all that remains, a memory of what we were, maintained by the royal line. My mother thinks seeing you dance, seeing someone who carries weight without shame, who moves with purpose instead of protocol, might help me understand why I refuse every alliance she arranges. Your Highness, I'm just a cultural attaché. You're a fat human who danced in front of predators without apology. Lyria's words cut like surgical lasers. Do you know what that means to a species that has spent 3,000 years perfecting the art of looking dangerous? She moved to a tree with branches that grew in perfect Fibonacci spirals. Her hand passed through the bark as though it were water. My mother has arranged 14 marriages for me, 14 alliances with species who see only strategic value, who calculate my worth in trade routes and military positioning, who look at this garden and see wasted space that should house weapons platforms. The tree's interior glowed, revealing structures like neural pathways. I refused them all. My mother called me selfish, said I endanger our sovereignty with my stubbornness. Perhaps she's right. Marcus watched water flow upward, defying gravity through principles he couldn't comprehend. Why did you want to meet me? Lyria's corona settled into deep blue. Because you were fat. Marcus had learned to armor himself against mockery, but this felt different, clinical. Every suitor who enters my presence, Lyria continued, has been optimized, genetically perfected, cybernetically enhanced. They represent the pinnacle of their species' ideals, and they bore me to the edge of crystalline fracture. She turned, 4 eyes blazing. But you stood in that hall carrying weight that makes you vulnerable. That makes you slow, that every species in that room judged as weakness. And you danced. She moved closer until her corona brushed against him. The sensation felt like standing in a lightning storm. You danced knowing they would mock you, knowing you represented your entire species, knowing failure would follow you forever. You did it anyway. Why? Marcus met her eyes, all 4 of them. The honest answer felt more dangerous than any diplomatic lie, but something in Lyria's corona demanded truth. Because I'm tired of pretending, he said. Tired of making myself smaller so others feel comfortable. Tired of apologizing for taking up space. That dance, it's mine. It belongs to people like me. And if the galaxy can't handle humans existing in all our shapes, then the galaxy can deal with its own discomfort. Silence stretched between them. Lyria's corona cycled through colors Marcus had no reference for. Then she laughed, a sound like crystal bells fracturing and reforming. My mother saw it immediately, Lyria said. She saw someone who could teach me what 14 perfect suitors couldn't. How to exist without apology. She extended her hand, the same gesture her mother had made. Dance with me, Marcus Chen. Not for politics, not for alliance. Dance with me because I want to understand what it feels like to move without protocol crushing every step. Marcus took her hand. Her corona surged, and suddenly the garden's geometry made sense. The impossible angles aligned. The upward-flowing water marked rhythm. The fractal trees created natural resonance chambers. They danced. No music. Just the garden's breathing, the pulse of Lyria's corona, the sound of Marcus's heartbeat finding harmony with crystalline structure. She followed his lead at first, uncertain. Then something shifted, and she began to move in ways Valtharians weren't supposed to move. Loose, flowing, uncoiling centuries of rigid protocol. Her corona blazed through the full spectrum, settling finally on colors that made Marcus's implant crash trying to translate. Joy, his hindbrain whispered. She's experiencing pure joy. When they stopped, Lyria was breathing hard, a sound like wind through crystal caves. This is what they fear, she whispered. Not military weakness. Not strategic vulnerability. They fear that I might choose someone who makes me feel like a person instead of a political instrument. Marcus's chest tightened. Your Highness, I'm not here to... I know. Lyria's corona softened to silver white. You're here because the universe has a cruel sense of timing. But Marcus Chen, you've given me something more valuable than alliance. You've given me proof that I'm not broken for wanting more than strategic perfection. She turned toward the garden's heart, where a structure like a throne grew from living crystal. My mother will ask you to attend the formal courtship evaluation tomorrow. Tradition demands I consider you as a potential match since we danced twice. The political implications crashed through Marcus's mind. Earth, already marginal in galactic politics, would be thrust into the center of Valtharian succession disputes. Every alliance, every treaty, every species would recalculate their positions. I can't...
I know, Lyria repeated.
You're not compatible. You have a life on Earth, someone waiting, perhaps. or the promise of someone, and I'm not looking for a husband. I'm looking for permission to be imperfect. She touched the crystal throne, and it dissolved into light. But here's what I'm going to do. Tomorrow, when my mother presents you for evaluation, I'm going to reject you, publicly. Not because you're unworthy. Because you're perfect exactly as you are, and I refuse to trap perfection in protocol. Her corona flared brilliant gold. Then I'm going to propose new terms for Valtharian succession. That the crown heir may remain unwed if they choose. That alliance through marriage is outdated. That sovereignty comes from within, not from strategic coupling. Marcus felt the weight of civilizations shifting. They'll call you revolutionary. Dangerous. They already do. Lyria's four eyes gleamed. But now I have proof that existence without apology is possible. Thank you for that, Marcus Chen. The guards returned as if summoned by thought. The audience was ending. One question, Marcus said as they led him toward the impossible door. What color was your corona at the end of our dance? Lyria smiled, an expression that didn't translate through crystalline features but somehow communicated perfectly. Hope, she said. I was expressing hope. The corridor compressed back to normal dimensions. The guards delivered Marcus to quarters he didn't remember requesting, a chamber designed for human biology, complete with gravity calibration and familiar air composition. Ambassador Thrace waited inside, face carved from stone. Do you have any idea what you've done? Marcus sat heavily on the bed platform, exhaustion finally catching up. Started a constitutional crisis in the galaxy's most powerful military sovereignty? Understatement. Thrace paced with predatory energy. Queen Ashira just sent formal notice to the Galactic Council. Princess Lyria will address the full assembly tomorrow. Every species representative must attend. No exceptions. She stopped pacing, eyes boring into Marcus. And you're required on stage, next to Lyria, while she makes whatever announcement will reshape interstellar politics for the next century. Marcus closed his eyes. Somewhere on Earth, Dr. Okonkwo was probably having a heart attack watching the news feeds. I just wanted to dance respectfully. You danced, Thrace said, voice softening fractionally, like someone who finally stopped apologizing for existing. Apparently that's revolutionary. She moved toward the door, then paused. For what it's worth, Chen, I was wrong. The council was right to send you. Perfect diplomats negotiate treaties. Imperfect humans change civilizations. The door sealed behind her, leaving Marcus alone with the weight of tomorrow. He stood, moved to the chamber's center, and began to dance. No audience. No protocol. Just movement in the dark, remembering that sometimes the most radical act is simply taking up space. Outside, the stars watched and the universe held its breath for dawn. The Galactic Council chamber existed in a space between spaces, a diplomatic nowhere designed to be everywhere simultaneously. Marcus stood in the human delegation wing, watching species from across known reality file into crystalline seats arranged in patterns that suggested mathematics beyond human comprehension. Ambassador Thrace adjusted his formal collar for the third time. Remember, you speak only if directly addressed by the Queen or Princess. You maintain neutral expression. You represent Earth's willingness to adapt while showing cultural strength. You... Breathe, Marcus finished. You've told me. I'm telling you again because if this goes wrong, Earth loses its voting seat for the next 50 years. Reality bent slightly as Queen Ashira materialized on the central platform. Her corona blazed with colors that forced most species to look away. She didn't speak immediately. The silence itself was communication, power that needed no announcement. Representatives of the Galactic Council. Her voice resonated through every neural implant simultaneously. I invoke ancient right. My daughter, Crown Princess Lyria, demands recognition of personal sovereignty. The chamber exploded into barely contained chaos. Personal sovereignty claims were considered primitive, holdovers from species that hadn't evolved past individual ego. Queen Ashira's corona flashed violet, and silence returned like a blade falling. Princess Lyria stepped onto the platform. She wore no formal armor, no royal regalia, just simple crystalline robes that caught light and scattered it in fractals. Her corona pulsed steady silver white. I reject, Lyria said, her voice carrying the weight of stars collapsing, the concept that my worth is measured by strategic marriage. The Croxian delegation stood to leave, a calculated insult. Sit, Queen Ashira commanded. The Croxians sat. They had no choice. Her corona could induce neural compliance at this range, Lyria continued unshaken. For 40 years I have been presented with suitors. Each one perfect. Each one optimized. Each one representing the pinnacle of their species' genetic, cybernetic, or evolutionary achievement. Her 4 eyes scanned the chamber, each one incapable of seeing me as anything beyond a political instrument. She gestured, and holographic images materialized, every rejected suitor their faces twisted with entitlement and calculation. Yesterday I danced with someone imperfect, someone who carries weight that makes him vulnerable to mockery, someone who moves with joy instead of protocol, someone who exists without apology. The hollow field shifted, showing Marcus in the diplomatic hall, mid-dance. The image captured something the moment itself had hidden, the absolute certainty in his movement, the mathematics of celestial mechanics embedded in human cultural memory. I reject him too, Lyria said, and the chamber fell silent. Not because he's unworthy, because I refuse to trap authenticity in political necessity. She turned toward the Valtherian section where elderly council members sat in judgment. I propose constitutional revision. The crown heir may remain unwed. Alliance will be built through shared values, not strategic coupling. Sovereignty is internal, not contractual. The eldest Valtherian council members stood, corona burning red. You risk our security, our alliances. Our position? For what? Personal comfort? For truth, Lyria shot back. Our empire was built on exploration and understanding. We danced with new species to learn their rhythms. We adapted our movements to match theirs. Somewhere we forgot that strength comes from flexibility, not rigidity. Philosophical nonsense, the council member spat. The galaxy respects power, not poetry. Then explain, Lyria said quietly, why every species in this chamber stopped breathing when Marcus Chen danced. Explain why my mother stood, breaking protocol she's maintained for 200 years. Explain why something imperfect moved us more than centuries of perfection. Queen Ashira stepped forward. My daughter speaks truth I've been avoiding. We've become what we fought against. Rigid, calculating, measuring worth by utility. Her corona cycled through deep blues. Marcus Chen taught me something yesterday. He reminded me that we once danced to celebrate existence, not to demonstrate superiority. Approach the platform, human. Thrace's hand clamped on his shoulder. Protocol says... Protocol, Queen Ashira said with the weight of dying suns, is what I declare it to be. Now. Marcus walked forward. Each step felt like moving through setting concrete. Every eye tracked him, some with curiosity, many with contempt, a few with something that might have been hope. He reached the platform and bowed, deep and formal. Tell them, Queen Ashira commanded, why you danced. Marcus looked up, meeting the gaze of the most powerful being in 7 sectors. His throat felt like desert sand. Your Radiance, I danced because I was tired of being invisible, tired of making myself smaller, tired of apologizing for existing in a shape the universe says is wrong. On Earth, we have billions of people, every shape, every size, every configuration of body and mind and spirit. And we're learning, slowly, painfully, that strength comes in forms we didn't expect, that the person who doesn't fit the mold sometimes sees what perfection misses. He turned to face the assembled species. You laughed at me, most of you. I saw it in your faces, your energy fields, your pheromone releases. You decided I was weak before I took a single step. Not to prove you wrong, to prove to myself that I'm allowed to exist. And if that existence made you uncomfortable, made you question your assumptions, made you reconsider what strength looks like, then maybe that's the point. Maybe evolution isn't about perfection. Maybe it's about having the courage to be imperfect. Silence greeted his words. Deep, profound, complete. Then the Silurian delegate stood. A species known for collective thinking and rigid hierarchy. The human makes unexpected sense. Our species values uniformity. Perhaps we have lost something in that pursuit. Another stood. Then another. Species after species, considering the impossible, that their ideals might be cages. The eldest Valtherian council member remained seated, corona burning brighter. This is sentiment, not governance. You cannot reshape millennia of tradition because one human danced well.
No, Queen Ashira agreed.
But I can reshape tradition because that human revealed a truth I've been ignoring. My daughter has been right all along. We've confused alliance with ownership, strategy with understanding, power with worth. I propose constitutional amendments, not just for Valtheria, for the entire Galactic Council. Personal sovereignty must be recognized. Strategic marriage may be offered, never demanded. Alliances built on shared values, not contractual coupling, will never pass. Then we will see, Queen Ashira said. Corona blazing gold, bright enough to make crystal seats smoke, whether the galaxy prefers evolution or extinction through rigidity. Every species delegation considered, calculated, decided. Marcus stood on the platform next to Lyria, feeling history pivot on a moment that began with someone laughing and a fat man dancing. The results materialized in holographic display. Species after species voting to accept. Not all. The Croxians voted no. The Drax Collective voted no. 17 species rejected change. But 43 accepted. The constitutional amendments passed. The chamber erupted. Half in celebration, half in fury. The Croxians left immediately, their delegation already calculating how to weaponize this change. The Silurians approached Lyria directly, requesting cultural exchange. The Terran delegation stood in shock, watching humanity's diplomatic status rise from marginal to significant in a single vote. Queen Ashira approached Marcus. Her corona settled into colors he'd never seen, something between gold and silver and blue. You have altered the course of civilizations, Marcus Chen. Not through strategy, through authenticity. I just danced your radiance. Yes, her corona pulsed warm. That is precisely why it mattered. You are free, Lyria, free to choose or not choose. Free to rule without being ruled by tradition. Thank you, Mother. Thank the human, Queen Ashira said. He reminded us what we'd forgotten. She departed, leaving Marcus and Lyria alone in the slowly emptying chamber. What happens now? Marcus asked. Lyria's 4 eyes sparkled with something that might have been mischief. Now, you return to Earth a hero. Earth's council will probably make you an ambassador. You'll spend years negotiating treaties you never wanted to negotiate, all because you danced without apology. And you? I rule. Simple, certain, without a consort, without apology. I build alliances based on understanding, not contracts. I change what 3 millennia couldn't change. She paused. Because a fat human showed me that existence without apology is possible. Marcus felt the weight of it, not burden, but significance. I don't know if I can handle being a symbol. Then don't be a symbol, Lyria said. Be Marcus Chen. That's all you ever were, all you need to be. The universe will make you whatever else it needs. She extended her hand one final time. Thank you for dancing, for existing, for reminding us that imperfection is not weakness. Marcus took her hand, felt her corona pulse warm and grateful. Thank you for seeing past the mockery. I saw what mattered, Lyria said. I suspect that's what you've been doing your entire life. The guards came to escort him back to the Terran delegation. Ambassador Thrace waited, face transformed by something between shock and pride. Chen, you absolute maniac?
You just rewrote galactic law by dancing.
Marcus smiled, exhaustion and exhilaration mixing in his chest. I danced because I was tired of being invisible. Well, Thrace said, you're going to be very, very visible now. They walked through corridors that felt different, lighter somehow, as if possibility had more room to breathe. Back on Earth, 3 days later, Marcus stood in Dr. Okonkwo's office while she laughed until tears streamed down her face. You danced the grief of distant suns accidentally perfectly and started a constitutional revolution. This is the most beautiful disaster in xenoanthropological history. I studied, Marcus protested. You taught me. I taught you the movements. You brought the meaning. She wiped her eyes. The galaxy is going to be different now, Marcus. Species are already proposing similar reforms, personal sovereignty laws, alliance restructuring, all because you existed loudly. Marcus looked out the window at the sky. Somewhere up there, Princess Lyria was ruling without apology. Queen Ashira was reshaping an empire. 43 species were reconsidering what strength meant. Danced. Dr. Dians. Okonkwo, he said quietly. What do I do now? You keep dancing. You keep existing without apology. You keep showing the universe that perfect is overrated and authentic is revolutionary. Also, you have 17 requests for cultural exchange programs, 4 ambassadorial appointments, and 1 very angry message from the Croxian delegate threatening to challenge you to ritual combat.
I just wanted to dance respectfully.
You did, Dr. Okonkwo said. And that respect changed everything. He left her office and walked into sunlight that felt new. His comm device buzzed constantly, messages from across Earth and beyond. People who'd been called too fat, too thin, too different, too imperfect, thanking him for existing loudly. Marcus Chen, cultural attaché, unlikely revolutionary, stopped in the middle of the plaza and began to dance.
No music. No audience.
Just movement in the sunlight, proving again and again that the most radical act is simply taking up space. Above, the stars watched, and somewhere in the dark between them, the universe smiled at its own capacity for surprise.